Picture your wallet right now, the cards, the cash, maybe a crumpled receipt from last week. Now imagine all of it is gone, not stolen, just gone. Every account zeroed, every bill dissolved, every price tag on every shelf, in every store on earth, suddenly meaningless. The question is not whether that would be bad. The question is how fast everything would fall apart, and what would be left when it did. Because currency is not just a convenience, it is the operating system the entire modern world runs on. Pull it out, and you are not left with freedom. You are left with something much older, much harder, and much stranger than most people are prepared for. The first 6 hours would be confusion. Stores would still be open. People would still be driving to work. Nobody would quite believe it yet, but by evening, the cracks would show. A truck driver hauling produce across 3 state lines has no reason to finish the route. The gas station he planned to stop at has no reason to pump fuel for free. The dispatcher calling his phone has no paycheck to offer. So the truck stops. And it is not just one truck. It is every truck, every ship, every cargo plane moving goods across the planet at this exact moment. The global supply chain does not pause for a philosophical adjustment. It just stops. Cold. Within 48 hours, grocery store shelves start looking thin. Not empty yet, but the backstock is not being replenished because the warehouse workers are not coming in, because their landlord still wants something for rent, even if that something is no longer money. Supermarkets in 2023 held an average of 3 days of inventory. 3 days. After that, you are not shopping anymore. You are competing. Researchers who study disaster behavior have documented what happens when scarcity becomes visible. People do not calmly organize into sharing circles. They grab, they hoard, they prioritize family first and strangers last, which is exactly what evolution built them to do. Hospitals would be among the first institutions to crack, not because doctors stopped caring, because the supply chain that feeds a modern hospital is brutally specific. Surgical gloves, sterile tubing, specific medications at precise concentrations, none of it appears by goodwill alone. Pharmaceutical manufacturers stop shipping when there's no payment mechanism. Power companies face the same problem. The engineers who keep the grid running have mortgages, or they did, and they have children who need food. The grid does not run on civic duty. It runs on tens of thousands of coordinated workers showing up every single day because they are paid to. Remove that, and the lights start going out in less than a week. Now here's what most people miss when they imagine a moneyless world. They picture barter stepping in cleanly, like a backup generator kicking on. A farmer trades eggs for a haircut. A carpenter swaps a table for a week of childcare. Clean, simple, human. But barter has a fatal flaw that economists identified a long time ago. They call it the double coincidence of wants. You need to find someone who has exactly what you need and also wants exactly what you have at exactly the same moment. A dentist who needs roof repairs has to find a roofer with a toothache. That sounds funny until you realize most of your day-to-day needs cannot be matched that cleanly. Your internet service provider does not want your spare bedroom furniture. Your pharmacist cannot use a homemade pie in exchange for insulin. Scale is the thing that kills barter every time. It works in a village of 40 people who all know each other, who all track debts informally through reputation and memory. The Kung Bushmen of the Kalahari operated something close to this for thousands of years. Sharing was not optional, it was the law. A hunter who brought in a large kill gave most of it away, and the camp kept careful social track of who contributed and who took more than their share. That system worked because everyone could see everyone else. 30 people, no anonymity, no strangers. Now try to run a city of 4 million people on reputation and memory. You cannot. The math does not work. Within weeks of a global currency collapse, something interesting would start happening in small communities. People would begin inventing currency again, not on purpose, not with a grand plan, but naturally, inevitably, because the problem it solves is real. Certain goods would start functioning as money because they are durable, divisible, and broadly desired. Salt did this for centuries across the ancient world. Tobacco did it in colonial Virginia. Cigarettes still do it inside prisons today. Whatever your local version of salt is, that becomes the new coin. And the moment you have a commodity that everyone agrees has value, you have rebuilt the wheel. You have not escaped money. You have just demoted it to a cruder version of itself. Some researchers who have studied this believe the gap between collapse and reinvention would be shockingly short, maybe months, maybe less in communities with tight social bonds and practical resources. What fills the vacuum is not chaos forever, it is trust. Whoever commands trust commands the new economy. A farmer with 10 acres of wheat has something everyone needs. A doctor with the skills to set a broken leg has something rarer. A person who knows everyone in the county and has a reputation for fairness becomes a broker, a banker, a mayor, all at once without any title. The power structures do not disappear. They just reorganize around a different kind of wealth, skills, relationships, reputation. The digital question makes all of this considerably stranger. Sweden already runs on almost no physical cash. Less than 5% of transactions there involve paper bills. Most banks have stopped handling cash entirely. An app called Swish handles real-time transfers between strangers using just a phone number. If currency disappeared but digital infrastructure stayed intact, some countries would barely flinch in the short term. But digital money is still money. It still requires a functioning power grid, a functional banking system, and universal social agreement that the numbers on the screen mean something. Pull any one of those three out, and you are back to barter and reputations overnight. There's a version of a moneyless world that some people find genuinely appealing, where contribution replaces accumulation, where a nurse and a hedge fund manager are valued by what they actually provide to the people around them, rather than what the market assigns to their labor, where the things that are most necessary are treated as such. It is not a crazy idea. For most of human prehistory, something like it was true. A skilled hunter was valued. An elder who knew where the water was in a dry season was valued. Status existed, but it tracked usefulness. The most productive gatherers in a Hadza camp are often women in their 50s and 60s, walking 10 miles a day into their 70s, feeding grandchildren. That is not a system that wastes people. It uses everyone. But that world only works at a size where everyone is visible to everyone else. The same intimacy that made it function is what made it brutal in other ways. No anonymity means no escape from social judgment. No accumulation means no margin for error. One bad season and the whole camp suffers together. Modern currency, for all its distortions, created something ancient barter never could. The ability to store value across time and space, to plan years ahead, to fund a hospital before you need it, to build infrastructure that benefits people who are not yet born. That capacity is not small. The vaccines, the antibiotics, the clean water systems, every large coordinated investment that extended human life depended on the financial mechanisms currency makes possible. A world with no currency would not stay that way. It never has. Every society that tried to live without a medium of exchange either collapsed back into subsistence or invented a new one within a generation. The more interesting question is not whether currency disappears, but what it is we actually value, and whether the system we built reflects that. A truck driver who stops because there's no paycheck, and a grandmother who walks 10 miles to feed her grandchildren for free are both running the same ancient calculation. What is this worth to the people I care about? Currency just tried to make that question universal. It never quite succeeded. And every time someone imagines a world without it, what they are really imagining is a world where that calculation finally comes out right.